Welcome to Knowledge Drop, our podcast about science, technology, and engineering. I'm Derek.
And I'm Hayden.
All right, Hayden, what are we going to be talking about this week?
Man, we've got some crazy stuff. So we're talking about how humans and robots one day are just going to be one and the same. So, man, I just want to jump into it. There's so much out there right now that exists that's already like so insane that, you know, a lot of people don't know about these things, yet because they're so new, but they are going to absolutely change the world. We we are going to become robots, for your information. Before we get into that, though.
No, that's super exciting. I definitely can say I don't know a ton about this, so I'm excited to see like what I can learn from what you're gonna be teaching me and stuff.
Yeah, there's so much more than I thought. Like so many more advances than I had even considered, and some insane engineering, some feats of engineering. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely get into that. But before we jump in, why don't we just, let's get warmed up. Let's hear a fun fact.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this one because the wording of it confuses me if I have to like remember it. And
Okay.
so a year on Venus is shorter than a day.
Shorter what?
It takes 243 days to make one rotation, but only 225 days to go around the sun for Venus.
So what?
So a year is what it takes for you to go all the way around the sun.
Okay.
And a
Yeah.
day is how long it takes for you to make one full rotation.
Correct.
Of the planet.
Yes.
The planet takes 243 days of like Earth time to make one rotation.
On its axis.
It's so slow that it takes 243 of our days to make one of Venus day. But
and then around the sun it takes
225 of Earth days to make one Venus year.
So a year is shorter than a day. That's what you said?
Yes.
Because that really didn't register at first. I was like,
see, that's what I mean is like it's such a weird like idea to wrap your head around, the fact that like there's no
what?
Yeah.
That throws everything off in my mind.
Yeah. And what's funny is there's a book I read called Red Mars, and they're in the book they talk about colonizing other planets, and they hit Venus with an asteroid just barely, so that like just kind of hits the edge of it to make it spin faster, so they have more of like an Earth day.
Like a top, like a quarter spinning on a table, and you just flick it.
Yep.
You just keep
exactly
flicking it
like
and flicking
that.
it. I'm sure that works. You'd have to hit it with something so huge. That seems crazy.
Well, it was an asteroid, and it is orbital mechanics, and so like it did work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, it wasn't Red Mars. It was another book by the same author called 2312.
Okay.
Just if anybody wanted to correct me.
Yeah. That is so weird to think about. It's mind-blowing. So like, let's say, so a day for us is, hey, the sun comes up, and then when it's in the very highest point, we say, okay, that's like the middle of the day, that's noon. And then when it goes down and it's dark again, okay, that was a full day. So on Venus, a full day like of rising and setting of the sun, basically where the sun is almost like months of the year, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's exactly
it's so much longer that it's like, where's this, what time of year is it? Well, the sun is, it's kind of low in the sky, so it's probably close to the end of the, but then how can you say it's close to the end of the year? Because then your whole
it's not the end of the year, because
off.
yeah, it's all different.
You'd have to reverse it and say that one sun up, sundown was a year, and that one rotation around the sun was a day. Will that work? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't want to think too
totally
hard about it.
lost. Yeah, don't think about
But
it too hard.
something else that's cool in that book is because the rotation is so slow, the city that they have on the planet, it's built on these giant metal tracks, and the expansion. So because Venus is closer to, oh, sorry, never mind. I'm totally misremembering this entire book. It was Mercury that I'm thinking of. So never mind. Disregard.
So not Venus. Okay.
No, no.
Not relevant. All right. All right.
Anyway, back into the more interesting topic for today.
Yeah, well, that was pretty cool, actually. I didn't know that, and now it makes you really stop and think. But we Earth privileged people, we put everything in Earth's perspective,
Yep.
measure everything in Earth days. It's not how they roll on Venus. Um, okay, so let's get into it. I want to start with, so at MIT, they have a new surgical technique that allows a person to receive feedback from their prosthetic, so that, because in a lot of prosthetic cases, you have what's called, what's it called? Phantom limb menace.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
wait, what did I just say?
no, it's yeah,
No, it's
I've heard
not
of that.
that.
It's phantom limb.
Phantom limb syndrome, right? Not
Oh
menace.
yeah,
I have no idea why I
eh.
said menace. Um, but yeah, so it feels like when you have a prosthetic limb, it feels like you still have fingers and stuff, but you don't, you know? And that really bothers people. I mean, I can imagine that would really bother me. Like, some people even say that they feel like itching on their finger or in between their fingers
Oh, that would be the worst.
when they no longer have fingers, they don't even have an arm. And so that's weird to think about, but it's because your arm has muscle pairings all along, like wherever you would cut off that amputation, there's muscle pairings all along there. And if those muscles aren't paired anymore, then the electronic signals from your brain will still be sending signals, but you've only got one half of the pair pretty much. So that's why it's kind
So
of like a phantom feeling.
when you say muscle pairings, are you saying that like at the top in my shoulder, there's a muscle like connection, and then as it
Yeah.
goes down my arm, it splits into two, and then it rejoins itself at my elbow? Is that like a muscle pairing that you're talking about? The two ends of a muscle that?
Yes. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you cut a rope anywhere, you'd have two ends that are a perfect pair to each other if you could perfectly put them together. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if there's something deeper there to muscle pairing, but I think that's all it really means, is that you've got two halves of something, the other half is no longer there. The signal it's not reaching its destination anymore. Um, so they've developed a way to basically graft muscle from another part of the body to complete the muscle pair, which also reduces rejection and increases feeling. So people are actually starting to get what's called, um, they're calling it feedback. Pretty much, it's the sensation of feeling when you're when you're moving your prosthetic. So when you move your fingers around or you open and close your fist, they're actually feeling it as if it was your arm. I mean, and
Would
that's
that
all
make
because they've completed, they're taking muscle graft from other parts of the body, and they're completing those muscle pairs so that when you're moving those digits in a certain way, you're activating those muscle pairs still. So you're still getting a sensation of feeling. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same yet, but it's the beginning of the fact that you can actually feel your prosthetic limb, and it's not just, it doesn't feel dead.
so are they able, like, aren't there still going to be missing muscle pairs? Like, would that make the phantom limb thing like worse?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Because I mean, they're not going to have. Are they able to like complete every muscle pairing that's missing?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Oh, really? So there would be any phantom limb syndrome stuff going on.
Either it's completely gone. Well, what they're saying is not only is it gone, but it's
You're able to
replaced
feel
with
again.
a feeling that you're actually grabbing something,
Wow, that's really cool.
or that you're actually stepping on something, you know?
Hmm.
So pretty crazy stuff. And your mind immediately can go to, yeah, I mean, well, my mind automatically goes to like Star Wars. You get your hand chopped off, it's really not a big deal. Like, you get that robotic arm, it's working just as good, if not better, than your human arm.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that was really cool. And then I kept going. I found a thing. There's a TED talk by this guy called Neil Harbison. I'm now entering a different phase of what's called transhumanism. So, first step would be feeling your prosthetic limbs. Another step would be, well, maybe not another step, but um, another advance, I would say, is fixing all the things that go wrong with our human body. So one of those is color blindness.
Hmm.
And this
Okay.
guy, Neil Harbison, he has a really cool TED talk. He had a sensor implanted in his head in 2003, so 17
Hmm.
years ago. And the sensor, um, it's so weird. I'm not even exactly sure how this works, because the sensor, what it does when he looks at a certain color, the sensor vibrates a distinct vibration in his skull for each color. So, like, if he looks at pink, there's a vibration in his skull specifically for pink, the color pink.
That would
And if
get
he looks at
annoying.
blue, but it's so subtle that it's not like he's feeling it. So it's so subtle because it's vibrating his skull. It's not like shaking his
It's not like
head.
a cell phone buzzer or cell phone
No,
vibration.
it's so subtle that it's just a feeling.
Hmm.
Like, that's what he says, is it's like when he looks at the color blue, his eyes can't perceive the color, but he feels that it's blue.
So he
So
doesn't see color, he feels color.
yeah, it's
That's a
so
cool
crazy.
concept.
It's called bone conduction.
Oh,
So
yeah, I've heard of that. They do that
okay.
with headphones. So like
Oh, really?
so right behind your ear there's like your skull, obviously,
Sure.
but it's close to your skin's not as thick, and so you can put like a device in there that um it vibrates, but it's not something that you can feel on your skin. It's something that is transmitted to your bone, and the
Yeah.
bone is what creates the vibration.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to explain, but probably
Oh,
didn't do a
okay.
great
I
job.
I got you.
It's
So
it's
he
yeah,
basically
bone
modified these
conduction.
headphones that will,
I don't know if it
instead
was
of
him, but
music, it will be this like
color.
color code thing.
Yeah. So in a weird way, he's not really colorblind because he can tell exactly what each color is. Now, I didn't look through all of it. I'm not sure how the chip or whatever knows which color he's looking at in what moment. I'm not sure about that, but I need to look into that a little more. I'm pretty sure it has a simple explanation, but anyway, I just thought that was really cool and a simple fix to like a problem that's been around for since humanity. So
Yeah, well, what's funny, you mentioned that, it reminds me of an article I read that there are lots of people starting to experiment with these kinds of like um seeing, they're changing their senses to do different things. So
hmm.
like there was this one guy, I think he was blind, but he got an implant that helped him to um see or to smell light.
What?
So like he can, or there's something, I don't know, there's like there were a few different article, or there was a few different parts of this article that talked about these people. They're doing experiments of like, I can kind of what you're saying is I can hear color. And there was another guy that it's even hard to say because it's like it doesn't make sense. It was something to do with taste. It was like he could taste feelings,
Oh, wow.
like instead of your fingers feeling, he could taste when something was touching his hands. I don't
It's
know.
like the way you said that, I was like, he can,
Yeah,
like
he can taste
if
his
you're,
happiness.
yeah, I was like, if you're really mad around him, he's gonna know. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what is that? Oh,
No,
man,
but it was
can you
for
move over?
himself. It wasn't for others. That would be amazing, but
Oh, he's like, I taste blood right now. I'm
yeah.
furious.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
No,
Yeah,
but yeah,
there's
that it was
people that
cool.
are there's people out there that are actively like, I'm telling you, they're just looking for every little thing to inject into themselves to try and like enhance their senses
Mm-hmm.
or change their senses. They're doing like these physical experiments on themselves. It's really crazy. Um, a lot of companies right now want to do what's called radio frequency identification chips.
The RFID.
Yeah.
That's what yeah, okay. Yeah, I've
Um,
heard of those.
which are popping up around a lot of places in the world. There's a company called Dangerous Things, which in parentheses, I would just say that's sketchy. Like,
What do you mean?
well, people are already kind of like sketched out by, just like the classic, like government wants to chip us so they know where we are and blah, blah, blah. And
So
this
you're saying this
company,
company wants to put these RFID chips in us.
yes, and they name themselves Dangerous Things. It's
That
just kind
doesn't
of like,
I feel like the marketing department's going to be like kind of having a hard time.
yeah, it's like, trust us. This is safe. We're going to cut you open. It's cool. And yeah, our name is Dangerous Things, but we just like to live on the edge. Um, but yeah, so they're using these chips, right? And they're putting them like in your wrist, in your finger, um, and you can use it to identify yourself. So like a form of ID. You can use it to make payments. So like instead of Apple Pay, like scan your phone, you would just scan your finger or scan your wrist or whatever.
I wonder how old that company is because facial recognition has gotten so good that like I read an article about how in China there was a store that opened up that they were using the facial recognition of customers. So you just walk in, you grab what you need, and you walk out, and it scans your face and charges your
That is
information.
insane. That's really crazy.
And it's not invasive. So I'm wondering, like, is this an old company or what? Because I mean, there are
Well,
other things that I could think of to do with RFID chips, but
they say you can unlock doors.
yeah, I have seen that one because a lot of people put them on their keychain, little RFID chips, so that when they're like approaching their house, the door opens or the lights turn on or
Right,
something.
right.
But
It's just becoming like, it goes from your phone to, it just keeps getting closer and closer to the body,
mm-hmm,
technology. And now it seems like we're at a stage where people are like, well, it's already so much a part of me. Why not make it a part of me? Just makes
mm-hmm.
my life easier.
Yeah, that's why I um, Elon Musk's company Neuralink. I don't know if you're going to be talking about them, but
So I put a little asterisk and I was like, leave your own episode for Neuralink, because
so yeah, we'll
that's a
talk about
big
Neuralink
one.
because that is a big deal. You're right.
I felt like that was big enough a deal that I would just leave that out because there's so much already.
So I'll just say this one thing. So like the point of Neuralink is to develop artificial intelligence, but not by itself. It's supposed to be integrated into the human body, into your body. And so one of the things that came out earlier this year was that, or was it last year? I can't remember. But they are developing basically a sewing machine that will implant these tiny, tiny sensors into the top of your skull so that you can communicate with this computer, this AI.
Oh man.
And so,
We need to dive into that deeper in another episode, because that's
yeah,
just,
for sure.
I'm sure we'll get there, but it's right around that ballpark, people are, like you mentioned, chips in your ear, right? So the same thing with RFID. They're thinking about, they're actually doing small biomagnets that you can put into your outer ear, just outside the ear canal, and it basically works like a subdermal headset. So vibrating and creating sound via an electromagnetic field that's created when an audio signal is sent to an electromagnetic coil worn around your neck basically works like a headset. So you
Huh.
receive a call, and that call um, is, man, I'm trying to imagine how this would work exactly. But between the coil around your neck and the implant in your ear, you would receive the call. I'm not sure, I think by the coil, and then the coil would communicate electromagnetic field via electromagnetic field to your implant in your ear, and would basically work as your headset. You can answer that call and just talk normally, and then
Hmm.
hang up
I
whenever you want to.
I wonder if they were thinking about putting the coil around your neck, like implanting it in your neck. You know what I mean? So that it's a totally
The article
integrated part.
the article that I read said worn.
Hmm.
I assume that would be outside, but like I said,
Well,
everything's just getting closer and closer to
yeah,
you,
you want to be able to
at some
not have
point.
to carry around another thing, you know,
Yeah.
because like that was the thing with Neuralink is our phone is basically a part of us. Like how many of us
Right.
go somewhere without our phone?
Yeah.
And so it's like technology is becoming a part of us, and that's why like Google Glass was supposed to be this life-changing thing, because you didn't have to carry it around in your pocket. You could wear it and it could alter what you were seeing. And
They're still going with that.
oh, are they? I
I
thought it was
guess
canceled.
I guess they just came out with one. I think it was actually I think it was actually Apple, though, that they're actually working on that. But I can look more
Boo.
into that later. But they're still going for it for
That's cool.
sure. Um, so, just a quick tidbit. So these researchers, um, they have, and I can't remember where the researchers were from, but they were able to send a message using only brain waves from France to India.
Like over the
Just
internet.
Yes, but
Wow.
they were able to send a message, and that message was received by a computer, translated, and then the person could understand what they were saying just using their brain.
Hmm.
So they're thinking
Cool.
things. So that what right now they just sent the word hello,
Mm-hmm.
but you send the word hello in your mind, the brain, the machine takes those impulses, is able to interpret them, sends them away. The computer receives them, interprets them again, and then spits out what the message is. And I think that the other person was also wearing a headset, so it was mind-to-mind communication. They were able to just think what they wanted to think, and it was successfully interpreted on the other side. And this was transcontinental.
So let me just reiterate that because I understand. I think I'm confused. Each of them had a headset on, and the headset was simultaneously reading the signals from the brain that were telling it a message.
Mm-hmm.
And
Electric impulses from your brain, yes.
yeah. And then they were understanding that message, or at least they were able to take that information and transfer it to another headset worn by another
Probably to
individual.
probably into a computer code next,
Yeah.
or some sort of software that could understand those impulses.
And so the other guy wearing the headset felt this message in his mind
Now,
and was able to understand what it was. Is that right?
Okay, so I left out a part. It's that they converted it into a series of flashes. And this series of flashes, this guy was able to decode that he was saying hello. So I'm not exactly sure if they had set up like this amount of flashes is this letter and this
Like a
amount of
Morse
flashes
code
is,
kind of thing.
yeah, that type of
Mm,
thing.
yeah, because now I'm like, it seems like it's not so much mind to mind because it's mind. My message is sending a Morse code through this headset to a light flasher thingy on my headset that then you understand the light flashes as XYZ signal.
But that's communication.
Yeah,
That's all we're
yeah,
really doing
yeah.
at the end of
I
the
guess
day,
that's
though.
true. Yeah.
Because if you and I speak different languages, we're not going to get each other either. So there's always an interpretation of some sort going on. And if I use a word that you're not regionally used to, then I'll have to translate for you anyway.
Yeah. I guess I was
So
just confused because I was like, you'd still be hearing or seeing the message that you would then interpret into your brain. You wouldn't have like a
yeah.
direct brain to brain
Yeah, you're not
messaging system.
it's not like you're hearing that person's voice in your head go, "Hello."
This is your
It's not like
conscience
that.
speaking.
um yeah, so it's not exactly like that yet. I always like to add a little yet at the end. But there is like an interpretation going on. I think the most impressive thing is from the human to the machine, that the machine knows what you're trying to say and is able to successfully communicate that on the other side. I think that's probably the most impressive part.
No, that is cool. And, little things like this are progress, and eventually it's going to build up to something really amazing.
Just the fact that he thought a word and somebody who was thousands of miles away was able to understand that word, whatever means that was.
Well,
I
see,
think it's pretty impressive
I
as a
think it's
start.
even, see, the distance doesn't even phase me. I think it's amazing that
Yeah.
they were able to take something, the electrical impulses in his brain, and they're able to communicate them through another medium other than his mouth.
Yep.
And like, he didn't have to control any part of his face or his body to communicate something that was in his mind.
Well, so
That's the
what
cool
if you're
part.
paralyzed but your mind still works?
Yeah, like
You know what I mean?
Stephen
Like
Hawking.
even if you could
Hawkins.
only speak in your mind, but you could still speak to people, even if it was just a series of flashes or whatever. I think that's amazing. And it's a start, right? I think it is impressive though that they were transcontinental, because it would have been less impressive to me if it was like, yeah, we did this in a lab with two huge robots right next to each other, but we kind of had to be in the same room, and
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah, I
So they
get
were
you.
able to take advantage of the fact that, like, yeah, we need to be able to be, it needs to be like a cell phone, like we don't need to start that small. Like we need to make this in the airwaves or whatever. So I just thought that was really cool as a little add in, like, yeah, we're doing this as well. We're also starting to communicate with our minds. Um, Last but not least, I got a couple of things, and kind of in the same realm. So the first one is called, um, oh man, I don't know what the suit is called, but it's powered by Sarcos Robotics, and it's an exoskeleton.
I love exoskeletons
So
because
cool.
that's what Iron Man is.
Yeah, essentially.
I
Um,
mean, I guess if you want to go by Tony Stark's definition in Iron Man 2 that it's an advanced prosthetic,
a
yeah,
full
but
body prosthetic.
yeah, I think it's an exoskeleton.
Prosthetic for what? I guess I never thought of it that way.
Well,
Your
I think the
spirit.
argument he was making in the scene was that like Iron Man is an extension of Tony Stark, not that
Oh,
Iron
Iron Man
Man
2,
is
right?
Iron Man 2. Yeah.
2 or 3?
Because he's in court
Yes.
with
Yes.
the Justin Hammer and the Hydra guy, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail you
No,
with a Marvel reference.
totally fine. So after talking about Iron Man, it's kind of less exciting to talk about this. But if we combine a lot of these things, you start to get a picture of like Iron Man's real. Like it can really be real. This exoskeleton, it looks more like a there's a movie with Matt Damon. Also the movie with Tom Cruise where have you seen that one where he keeps
Edge of
dying
Tomorrow?
over and over?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a
Or
cool
yeah,
one.
it's Edge of Tomorrow.
So it looks a little bit reminds me a little bit more of that type of thing.
Okay.
Um
So it's
looks really
hydraulic.
cool. Yeah.
Okay.
And right now, I mean, the level that they've produced it at, it gives you about 20 times your normal strength. So
Only 20 times.
yeah. So 100 pounds feels like 5 pounds, pretty much.
Well, I mean, if it's 20 times your strength, that means if I can lift 5 pounds,
You can
I
lift
can
100
actually
pounds.
lift 100 pounds.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So it's weird because I don't know. I mean, we're probably just a little bit too addicted to science fiction. But I was watching this video and it's like, this guy's like, oh, yeah, I mean, right now it's just construction and factory work, mostly that type of stuff. Jobs where you're picking up heavy objects all day and all night, you know, makes it really easy because now you're picking up a 200-pound object, but it's not a problem at all,
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool, but I'm like, well, even the person doing the interview with the CEO of Sarcos, he was like, so does this have any military application
Oh
or
gosh.
is that ever going to happen? And
Not everything has to be used by the military.
well, I will say though, what he said, and what I would say is that the military actually funded their initial project back in like 2000.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the military funding, they would have at least not gotten off the ground for a much longer time.
Yeah. And
So the
just to be
military
clear,
does its
yeah,
thing.
I have nothing against the military. I'm just like, why do we have to try and weaponize every new technology that we come across? You know what I mean? Like
You
Iron
build
Man
the
says
Iron
that
Man
like
suit and it's
someone
the
just
greatest
builds
weapon of
another
all
one.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just escalates from there.
Should have gotten a patent on that a little sooner.
Yeah. But anyway,
But
sorry, continue.
no, yeah, I just thought it was really cool. They're not really using it for much else. I think some companies have picked it up, just like, yeah, we'll use this. But
Well, I mean, you could use that really easily in your job. You were just saying the other day that you have to move around like 350-pound parts,
yeah,
right?
yeah, we do. So I was actually thinking, like, instead of using the crane that we have, they would just be like, hey, don't forget to use the mech suit. If you do, you'll get written up. So use the suit. You can't move stuff without the suit. And I was imagining like this really old beat up suit, like that they've been using it for years, but it still works, right?
That's
I don't
awesome.
know. It's like a dystopian future.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that'll definitely be a thing where it'll be so common that you'll be able to have these older models that people are just using for day-to-day labor and stuff.
No,
But
that would be cool.
and what I want to see is running. I want to see these things. Like I want to see a person running like 50 miles an hour in a suit.
See, if we're getting into like mechs and stuff, all I really want to see is Gundam fighters. Like Pacific Rim
Yep.
Gundam fighters. Like, that'd be so
Okay.
amazing.
Well, you've
That's
seen Avatar, right?
oh yeah.
And you've seen that mech suit.
Yeah, that one's okay. It's a little small.
It's too small. Yeah, I guess that's the problem with science fiction is that we always jump to the 300-foot robot, and we don't take time to appreciate that little 15-foot robot.
Well, and I think it's science fiction because this is getting really nerdy. If you watch a movie like Godzilla, for a animal to be scaled up to be that
Gogeta.
size, the bone density of the Godzilla character
Uh-huh.
would have to be significantly stronger
Insane. Impossible. Yeah.
because the larger the animal, the larger diameter the bone has to be, or the denser it has to be to
Yep.
support all that weight. And so, like, sure, in science fiction it works, but in real life, the
It would
weight of
be,
his body would just shatter his
yeah.
bones. And so it's like I think it's the same thing with mechs and with like Gundam fighter stuff. Is like, yeah, we really wish these things were real, but I don't know if the science supports it yet.
Well, have I got a surprise for you? Well, not 100 or 300 feet, but there is a 13-foot full mech suit that is functional.
Hey, that sounds like the one in Avatar. How tall was that one?
Yeah, it's much, well, it's almost exactly like that.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, so literally like same looking design and
Did they do
everything.
rentals?
Yeah, just a few million. Yeah, so I was watching this video of this Australian guy who was trying it out. It's a Korean company called Translogic.
Mm-hmm.
They have this 13-foot mech suit that totally works. So I'm watching this Australian guy try it out for the first time, and all the fingers move. So you can move all the fingers perfectly. So you can make a fist, whatever, you can punch. It is super responsive. Like this, it's moving with his arm. Like there is no
Oh,
lag
in real time.
in real
Wow.
time. Like it's, and the amazing thing is that they don't use hydraulics at all.
What?
Yeah,
So is it like linear actuators?
it's a bunch of, well, I didn't really get into the design that much, but from what I saw, there was just a bunch of belts and pulleys like all along it.
Oh, weird.
It
Interesting.
was, but that was just the legs. I'm not sure if there's a hydraulic component on the upper body. Not sure about that. But he did say, yeah, there's, you would think there's hydraulics on the legs, but there's not.
Well, it makes sense because like if they want to have like real time movement that's like mimicking your body, I don't know if hydraulics can offer that kind of fidelity of movement. And so like
Yeah.
electric motors, you can crank those things. Yeah, I'll have to look it up after we are done recording.
Yeah, I recommend to all of you to look it up. It's really, really cool.
What's the
He
company
was
called
able to
again?
walk in it. Translogic.
Translogic. Okay, continue. Sorry, I always interrupt you.
Oh, it's all good. He was able to actually walk in the suit, and they had a, he was kind of sketched out because I mean, this thing weighs 1.5 tons, so it's and it's all aluminum. It's mostly aluminum, so it's, you know, one of the lightest metals you can find, but still, just everything that goes into it and being so huge, still 1.5 tons.
Does he still have to
Um,
focus on balancing and stuff like that?
You know, I don't think he was walking it. I think he was just doing upper body
Okay.
because
Okay.
it seemed like he was just kind of more experiencing the movement of it walking back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
but he was able to control the arms and everything. Because the Korean guy that they interviewed that is kind of the leader on building it, he's like, yeah, a lot of people want to buy this robot, but and trust me, it looks freaking awesome. But he's like, yeah, a lot of people want to buy this robot, but I just don't feel done with it yet. Like I have more safety things to do. I have more components to add. So yeah, we're not going to sell it yet. And he asked the guy, how much does it cost? And I would ask you, how much do you think it costs?
300 million.
That's probably not a bad guess. The guy that, he didn't say the price, but the guy that guessed, he said, well, probably like a high-end, like world-class race car, like 1.5 million. And in my mind, I was like, dude,
No way.
no. And the guy kind of laughed, and he was like, okay, so you could afford half of one arm. So that kind of gives you an idea of like, okay, he's saying 1.5 million. You
Per
can
arm.
afford, well, he said you could afford half of one arm. So
Oh, so 3 million an
3
arm,
million an arm.
3, 6, 9, 12 for the
Yeah.
extremities. Ugh.
Yes. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can kind of guesstimate. I mean, $15 million.
Yeah, maybe not 300,
Not,
but yeah, I think
not
you're right. Like
cheap.
15, 20 million.
Yeah, it's 300
Just
million is like
brandishing around this kind of money.
300 million is like, it's only money that doesn't matter to the government, like
It's
to
chump
everybody
change.
else it matters, but to the government it's like, oh, 300 million, that's it? Oh man.
Yeah, 10% of that would set us up for life.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. But yeah, go check out that mech suit. Right now all it can really do is walk and move arms. But I have faith. I have faith that well, the first thing I thought of actually was the first person that buys this probably will be a military entity and will probably start manufacturing weapons that are the correct size for this thing. Because
Yikes.
that's just what they do. But
So basically it's going to be like portable 50 caliber miniguns.
yeah. And from what I've heard about miniguns, there's nothing really mini about them.
Yeah. I've seen enough videos about them that I'm just like, whoa.
They will turn people to red vapor,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
insanity. So yeah, I can imagine that type of future. And even the guy, when he was in the suit and he was like kind of listening to the way that it creaks because it makes a lot of noise when it moves,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh man, I think that this is a sound that will terrorize many people in the future.
This is
Like
the
these
beginning of
giant
Skynet.
robots, yeah, marching down your street, and you're just like, that's them.
They're coming.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
But terrifying as well.
But can you imagine? I mean, think about what we were talking about towards the beginning of the episode as far as prosthetics go and just having that feeling, with your prosthetics. Now, what if let's say your arm was just a port, so you could unscrew your current arm, right?
Your biological arm.
Well, not let's say you don't have a biological arm from the elbow down, but you have a port there.
Okay.
You can plug in different things. And let's say
So
you
you're
could have,
Inspector Gadget now.
well, yeah, it all comes back to him. We didn't
Yeah.
know, but he was the what do you call it? The innovator. No, but I was just thinking, like, what if you had instead like a port and you could plug that into the mech suit, and that
Mm-hmm.
completes your arm. So now you're literally integrated into the mech suit or into an Iron Man suit, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I have wondered about that. So like we've talked in brief about haptic feedback. Because when you're in this mech suit or in an Iron Man suit, you can't feel anything. So like if you
Right.
try to pick something up, it's going to be super hard
Yep.
to not hard, but
Spatial
I mean like
awareness.
it's going to be difficult. So like if you had some kind of haptic feedback so that when you touch something, you could actually understand the dynamics of what you're trying to pick up and touch.
Exactly. That's what I'm kind of like I was saying about those muscle pairs. If you could integrate into a system like that
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and you could port in like one way or another, if it's maybe you don't need to lose your arm, but there's some way to plug in with your biological arm to where you're getting those impulses. Because I can easily imagine a computer sending electric impulses from its limbs to
Well,
your arms,
if
stimulating your arms,
I wonder if you couldn't just do like something from Halo, because like if like it's not a long time that it takes to go an electrical impulse to go from your arm to your brain.
Oh yeah, like nothing.
But in Halo, they have an electrical circuit chip thing that he plugs into the back of his skull. That, you know, Cortana, the AI that's paired with him, she can help those electrical impulses go.
Wow.
And so I'm wondering, like, why would you waste your time trying to port all of your limbs so they can control these things when you can just, you know, matrix, you know,
Support into your
plug
nervous
in, yeah,
system.
just plug right back into the spinal cord thing.
Man, yeah. It's it sounds so science fiction,
Oh
but
yeah.
if we think about it, all the pieces are there. Like if you really look at it, there's a if you look at each project individually, you'll find little pieces. And if you were able to combine all those pieces into one thing for one purpose or another, you could achieve something really crazy, like
Mm-hmm.
really,
No, I
really
totally agree.
amazing. Like you combine the Iron Man suit technology with the haptics technology so you can feel stuff with military technology, and you've got something really dangerous, you know? So I don't know, man. I guess if you can't beat them, join them.
I like that saying because, you know, there's no way we can compete with artificial intelligence or anything like that. But if we
Yeah,
can become like one with the machine,
if we,
then we
yeah, we need
both
to get ahead
benefit.
of it. We have to be ahead of the curve, and we have to be responsible before it's conscious. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And it's funny that you mentioned, you know, thinking ahead and like in a nutshell ethics of what we're going to be doing. Because next week there's a large section of engineering discussion, but then there's the should we even do this like ethics discussion. So it'll be interesting to see what you say
Yeah,
for the discussion.
I feel like I already have my. I have so many opinions already. I want to just spit them out, but we'll save it, and
Yeah.
we'll save it for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just feel like I've said already twice, but it's so true. Technology, it's coming closer and closer to us. It used to be across the room, used to be in front of you on the desktop. It used to be on your phone, and now it's a part of you. Now it's inside of you. And
Mm-hmm.
now, you're just integrated with it. So I think that we need to be safe with it, but we also need to like branch out and see the possibilities, all the good that we can do with it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's my final words on the matter.
All right, cool. Well, you got any awesome recommendations?
All right. So this has nothing to do with technology. Well, in a way it does. It's music. So,
Okay.
um, guys, if you haven't heard of Glass Animals,
I actually haven't heard of Glass Animals, so
oh my
I'm one of
god.
those people.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a certain type of band that, like, if you're not into, what I say, like, they're definitely alternative, but getting so popular now that it's like an alternative is getting so popular that it's almost mainstream, right? But their new album, Dreamland, it's so cool. It's a lot of fun. So definitely give it a listen. It's the first album that I've heard of theirs, and it sometimes when you discover a new album, it makes you like a fan of all the prior albums just like automatically, because you go back and you're like, yes, everything is good. So that's my rec. Go check it out. It'll change your life.
Cool. Yeah, I just looked them up on Spotify, so I know what I'll be listening to tomorrow.
Give it a shot. You will not regret it.
And so, my recommendation is also not super science and engineering related, but there is science content on there, and there's a lot of making stuff And I feel like the more that you understand how to make things, the better you can design them, which is what engineering is, sort of. If you guys know Mythbusters, one of the co-hosts, his name's Adam Savage. He was the kind of more exuberant one that wore all the costumes. He doesn't do Mythbusters anymore because it was canceled a couple years ago, but he does have a website / YouTube channel called Tested. And
Really cool.
he does all kinds of build videos and, not right now, but in the past, they've went to interview scientists and engineers, and they've gone to rocket launches, and they go to Comic-Con, and they do a lot of really fun stuff. And I'm a premium member of their, content, and one of the videos helped me finish. If you guys are on our social media, you'll see that I made a rocket display of the rocket that I've been helping to build as an intern, like what we talked about last week. And so I really enjoyed their content, and I just wanted to recommend it to you guys that there is free content on YouTube, which is amazing and awesome. There's just some bonus content if you want to pay like $30 a year. So
Cool. Yeah, Adam Savage is a genius, man.
I love him so much. He's so cool, and I want to. What's funny is, so I finished that rocket build today, and I posted it on Twitter, and he actually retweeted the project.
Yes.
Yeah. Something that I made.
Achievement
he
unlocked.
Looked at. Yeah, seriously. He looked at and said, yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm going to share it with everybody else. And my whole brain is all over the wall. So
that's how it starts, man. You get your foot in the door. Next thing you know, we'll be his best friend.
Yeah, we'll be his best friend. He'll send us all kinds of fun stuff, and we'll send him all kinds of fun stuff.
And we'll be best friends, and we'll go out to lunch, and
maybe he'll come on the podcast too.
Oh, of course.
He also does have a solid podcast. You should look it up. It's called
does he really? I never knew that.
Yeah, I've listened to it. So I told you that I hadn't ever listened to podcasts, and you told me to listen to our Ludicrous Future.
Yep.
But I lied to you. I have been listening to Adam Savage podcast, which it's got the coolest name. It's called Still Untitled. And I've been listening to it. I used to listen to it on YouTube because I didn't realize that it was on like a podcast format. And it's just them sitting there talking together. But it is amazing. I love his podcast because they don't just talk about making stuff and science, but they talk about like some current events, and they call them spoiler casts, where they like talk about a movie that came out that they all watch together, and they talk like all the kinds of cool stuff, like this scene, why it was important, and what would have been cool, and that kind of stuff. So Sweet. Lots and lots of content. I'm jealous if anyone hasn't been immersed in it. So
I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, let me know what you think.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Email us at knowledgedroppodcast1@gmail.com.
And also, I'm still going to be doing the Perseverance rover giveaway.
Yes.
So stay tuned for how that's going to pan out, because there's going to be like a do this and then you'll be entered in the contest.
Yeah, you guys got to win that. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so. It's a model that Jet Propulsion Labs, they released the CAD files for 3D printing a rover, and it's like 60, 70 pieces. And You're so like, I'm still printing all of them. But it should be really cool.
That would be amazing to have. So, yeah, guys, stay tuned for that. And until next week, take it easy, and we'll catch you on the next one.